Good morning. I'm Shirley, and welcome to another episode of Shirley Says. Thank you so much for joining us. And today I am joined by the absolutely delightful Angela Rodwell. And Angela, works with me in the salon as a therapist, which is just a treat. And a lot of you probably don't know that Angela is also a qualified life coach. So, hello, Angela.
Hello.
What an intro.
Yay, pick me up.
Yeah, like lucky you get to hang out with me and work with me. It's too much. So I am obsessed with coaching and life coaching, and I have a business coach. And years ago, I actually approached you and asked you to be my life coach. And very sweetly, you said no. I totally got it. Yes, but do you know what? I got loads and loads from my life coach, and I can understand why, because we were friends, you felt it wasn't appropriate for you to do my coaching. But, do you know, I got so much from my life coach. What do you feel is a great reason for people to go for life coaching? Like, what sort of scenarios would they be in life that they would go, do you know what?
Okay.
Somebody about this.
I mean, I could turn that back and ask you why you went, but actually, maybe
that's a good idea.
Yeah.
You could be here all day, though.
But I think, life coaching it's such an interesting question, because there are so many reasons that you can go for life coaching, and you don't even have to have a reason to go for life coaching, so you'll get people, for instance, who maybe are stuck in their career, and they know that they can get to the next point, but they're just not quite sure how to get there. So working with a coach, fantastic stuff. Like you with your business, maybe just it's like somebody, it's a bit like going to the gym. You know how to do the stuff at the gym, but you go and get a trainer, because you know they're going to push you a bit further. You're going to respond to them more. So with your life coach, it's somebody behind you, somebody's got your back. It's somebody that kind of questions you on things that maybe need to be questioned. But you can also, I have worked with a lot of people who've just come to coaching because they're kind of like, I just feel as if there's something else that I could be doing. I could be doing better. I've got more potential, or even just, I kind of just don't know what I want in life.
Sometimes so there's you feel like you're coasting. Sorry to interrupt, but don't you think sometimes you're just kind of coasting along, and you feel like you need a little jolty on, or you feel like, well, I'll tell you the reason I went because I was working 7 days a week, and I was overwhelmed with the amount of work. And it was amazing because my first salon surpassed any of my expectations. I never expected it to go so well, but it was only me. And then I thought, how do I not spend, my fear was that I would wake up in 10 years' time and I would still be living the same routine and not have like moved forward. So for me, I was absolutely like, I felt like I had to go and speak to somebody to sort of maybe use them as a bit of a sounding board.
Yeah, quite often I think coaches it's almost like they bring a mirror up to you. But as well as letting you see what they see as well. So there's a great exercise that you do in coaching, or it's a great kind of thing that we use. It's called the Johari window, and it's cut into 4 sectors. So you've got one sector that's what everybody sees and what you see. Then there's another sector that is what everybody sees but you don't see. Another sector that's what you see but nobody else sees. And then the 4th quadrant is what nobody sees. And you're trying to kind of work through those to figure out, right, okay, like we all have a facade.
Absolutely.
But what's behind the facade? And actually, who are we really?
What's the core of us? I have to say, I really love that, because you do get to know yourself a lot better. And I found that, and I still go to coaching, I get asked a lot of, obviously they ask you questions, and I think that is that is for me the best thing, is they ask me the questions that I wouldn't ask myself.
Yeah. Or you ask yourself, you can get away with answering.
Yes, that's a better point, actually.
Yeah, the coach kind of goes, yeah, okay, so you told me that, but actually what you did was you put your hand over your mouth and you told me that, so really what's going on there, do you know? So yes. it's like that, or yeah, you know, sometimes you can just kind of say, right, okay, well, let's cut the crap here. What really do you mean?
I'm really good as well at answering in a really roundabout fashion. So she'll ask me a question and I'll sort of say, she went, but you didn't answer that.
Yeah.
No, did I not? And in my head, I genuinely believe I've answered that question, but I've not. I've skirted around it. And she calls me the politician. And I'm like, oh my God, I didn't answer that. She's like, no, you've still not answered it. And I'm like, oh, but you know, it is a really good, I've never heard that analogy. It's like putting a mirror up to you. That's actually so true. I actually put down to going to a life coach the reason that I have evolved my business so quickly, because they have constantly asked me questions, flagged up things that I would never have flagged up to myself. And I just want everybody to go to a life coach because the benefits that I got from it were huge. What's the thought process behind not taking me as a client? I know it's because we were friends, but is there a deeper sort of thing to that?
Yeah, I suppose the thing is that when you are coaching, you can be delving into quite, people might
personal.
Come with what they think. So they'll maybe come and they'll say, you know, life isn't good, and I need to move forward, and then it might turn out that there's some quite personal stuff there, and which they might not, if you're friends, or because I had another one of the dads from school approached me about doing some coaching with him, but I know him relatively well, and I know his wife very well. So is he really, you know, say for instance there's something going on in their relationship, which there wasn't, but you know, just for an example,
well, you don't know really that though, do you?
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is that he might not even know that.
Yes, that's a really good point.
And I did actually work with a husband of someone, and I didn't know him, and I didn't particularly know his wife that well, but I kind of did know of her, and it did get a wee bit sticky at one point, and we did sort of stop the coaching. So yeah, I would steer clear of anybody that you know. Apart from anything else, you want to have someone that you go to who's totally separate from your whole life, so you can tell them everything, and also they can call you on stuff. And you're not going to be offended, you know. You know, where it's like if your friends call you on stuff, you can kind of be offended, or you can kind of go la 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 la, I'm not listening.
You can be a bit defensive as well, can't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think it's because when I first started seeing my life coach, I'm talking years and years ago, my best friend was a wee bit upset, and we're best pals, and I actually now I can see why she was. And I think it was because she probably felt that I should be talking to her about all these things. But as you've quite rightly said, there was a lot of stuff going on in my head that I genuinely kind of wasn't fully aware of. And when I went into coaching initially, I'd never been to a life coach. And she handed me this questionnaire, and I went home and filled it out. And then I had to write, I think she said write a couple of paragraphs about a rough synopsis of like the last 5 years. It was something like the last 5 years. Anyway, I ended up writing about 10 pages. And you know, which I felt bad for the girl. As I write as much as I talk. I felt really bad for this coach, because actually when I wrote it all down, my mind was blown. There was a lot of things that I'd written down that I hadn't even realized was like a belief system, or that I was carrying about. And I wouldn't have had that chat with my friends, because it wouldn't have been a structured sit down, isn't it?
It's not someone who's nothing to do with you, because it feels like a very safe space. You can kind of go there, you can dump whatever it is you want to dump, or you can pick up whatever it is pick up safely, and then you can walk away from it. You know that it's kept in that space. You know that it's safe in that space. Nobody else around about you knows it. Nobody can throw it back at you. Nobody can.
That's huge, actually. That's huge.
Yeah. It's just a lovely, lovely, lovely relationship. And if the world were the place that I would love it to be, everybody would have a life coach for free. It would just be part and parcel of, out the womb, there's your life coach, and that's it. And I suppose maybe in the past we kind of did. We had like the old aunties who you could go to, but we don't all have that anymore. So
no, I don't. I actually think with the rise of mental health, and I can't decide if it is a rise or if we've just been better at hiding it through the past. I now think it's actually so important to be able to, as you've quite rightly said, go to somebody who's got no other ties or affiliations with your life. You can go blah, and they can constructively question things, take you out of your own head sometimes, and go, what about this? And it actually is so worthwhile for everybody. I feel. Do you think that when your clients come to see you for life coaching, do they come back and say, I've improved other relationships with my family or my friends? Or do you find that because they can have you as a sort of outlet, then they can bring a better self to the table? Does that make sense?
I'm not sure what you're asking.
I mean, do you think they can just cope with life better, and they can come in and like be a better, not even be a better, but, rather than trying to use other people as crutches for their life, can they, is it more like, actually, I can handle stuff now, so other things become easier? Does it have a knock-on effect?
I think there's a few questions in there. So does it have, I mean, you would take to think that somebody comes to coaching and they don't come away from it with more skills.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So I think, coaching is not about teaching. It is more about them finding from internally their own answers. So they're not going to come to me and say, right, okay, I want to change my life, and I'm going to say to them, right, you should do A, B, and C. We're not. You're going to work with them, right? Okay, what's right for you, and you're getting them to come up with their own solutions. Sometimes you will have to kind of just maybe help people out a wee bit, and also sometimes you will do a wee bit of teaching. I've got a background in cognitive behavioural therapy as well, which I also trained in. So certainly, there's a lot of stuff that I'll dip into from CBT that you teach them about your physiology, and so so I've got quite a lot of bits and pieces in the tool bag that I will bring into sessions. And I've completely forgotten what the question was. Yeah, so you're hoping that they go. It's a bit like you. So you're, of course, you're hoping that they go away with a lot more skills and a lot more just belief in themselves, or even just knowledge about themselves.
Yes.
Certainly I've had my own coaching, and through my own coaching really realised that I'm much more introvert than I am extrovert. We've talked about this, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, we have. I love this chat.
Yeah. If there's anybody out there that thinks they're an introvert, please buy The Introvert Advantage. It is the best book ever, and it completely changed my life, because it allowed me to see what traits an introvert has. And instead of thinking that I was a bit of a freak, I then kind of went, oh no, I'm just an introvert, which was amazing. So but in terms of it, life coaching can obviously have some, you're hoping that it's a positive experience. But if you think about, if you come to coaching, say for instance, because you're lacking confidence, and you build up your confidence or your self-esteem, whichever of those, that can impact on your relationships. Yeah. Because if you become, I would say, here's a prime example, and I hope you don't mind me saying it, but I would just say the you with one of your previous boyfriends is completely different to the you now, because you've had coaching in there. Yes. So, and absolutely. No longer with her. So, sometimes it can impact on, there's a lovely analogy. they talk about people in relationships dance together in a relationship, and they learn how to dance together. They know the steps that they do that work with one another. If one of them goes off and has coaching or counselling, that person quite often comes back with a few different steps. And then this poor person here is a bit like, whoa, hold on a minute, do these steps. This
You're no longer in rhythm.
Yeah, exactly. And it takes them a wee while. It's a wee bit of a fight until they get back into their own rhythm. Or sometimes they don't. So,
well, that's
that
true.
kind of...
Yeah. And actually, I did specifically go away and get other coaching when I was in that relationship. And it brought it to a swift halt, because it just made me... It opened my eyes to this wasn't for me, or it wasn't going to work. And actually it was sad, but it saved me a lot of pain, because I wasn't dragging it out as much. I dragged it out, don't worry about that, but I hadn't dragged it out.
But we do. That's
we
just
do,
part
but it's part and parcel, isn't it? But yeah, I like that analogy of the dancing together. And I think you as well, I suppose everything does have a ripple effect. Our behaviour has a ripple effect onto other people around us, and vice versa, doesn't it, really?
Yeah.
So if we're coming from a good place and we're coming from a happy head, then actually the decisions you make are so much more different, from when if you were coming from, I'm really internally not a happy bunny. So I think I would love everybody to go and see life coaches. I find them so interesting, and I love being asked questions and working out how I really feel about it. I think there's something so eye-opening. It's almost like that phrase, know thyself. You don't always, and other people can see it in you, but why is it you feel that you always can't see it in yourself?
I think that's what I loved about the Johari window. I mean, when somebody introduced that to me, I was kind of like, well, what does anybody know about me that I don't know about myself? I mean, come on, I know myself. I mean, I can remember arrogantly thinking, well, I know myself. Well, by the end of that, I mean, that was actually my cognitive behavioral therapy. By the end of that, I realized that I really hadn't known myself at all. And people were saying lots of things
that is scary, isn't it?
Because,
because you assume that you're living...
Really, I know me.
I know. But, did you think other people had known traits about you, but you just hadn't flagged them up? Or do you
I don't know. I
suppose you're not going to know, are you?
Yeah.
It's the way people see you.
At the end of it, I knew myself an awful lot better, and I knew stuff about myself that I hadn't known. And whether or not anybody else had known it, I don't know. But you do kind of look back and think, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed that I did that, or whatever else. I definitely think I'm much more knowledgeable. I think the other thing about coaching probably is that it gives you a different perspective on yourself, but it also, depending on what you're working on, can give you a different perspective on other people, and can make you much more compassionate and accepting of other people. For me in life, the majority of people, 99.9% of people, are really good.
Absolutely.
They're
coming from a good place. It might not come across like that, but they are coming from a good place.
Fear, or but yes, it definitely has made me look at things, or look at people, and kind of go, right, okay, well, somebody toots at you on the road, or really angrily, and you think that really wasn't necessary, but actually they're clearly having a crap day. And do you know what? I'm not going to get angry and take that away for the rest of the day. I'm just going to go, that's a shame,
absolutely.
Holly and I were out walking yesterday, and I think she said hello to a few people, and they didn't say hello back, and she said, Mum, they never said hello back. And I said, you've just got to kind of think what's going on for them, or maybe they just kind of don't, they're just not that sort of person, rather than sort of thinking, they never said hello to me, and holding it to the day. Don't hold it. Give it back to them. It's their stuff, and we don't know what's for them. So
I do like that, and I love that analogy of the saying hello, because I obsessively say hello to everybody now. Because I feel like even if you social distance from me, you're still getting a hello, and you will have to interact with me. And actually, I'm like shouting at people across the street, "Morning!" And you can see them just going, "Oh my God."
When they don't say hello back, Shirley,
talking to me.
Of you.
I don't. I know. It's nothing to do. Nothing to do with.
Who's that
Who is this? I haven't seen her. But the thing is, though, you're totally right, because I don't care if people don't say hi back to me or have an interaction. I just go, I've done the thing that makes me happy, and I'm hoping to ripple that out to more people. And if they're not there, I will break the barriers down. They will want to speak to me. They just don't know it yet. After about 10 times, because I do quite similar routines. So if they've seen me once, they're going to see me again.
Unless they take another route. Let's avoid her.
Yeah, I know. I've noticed her. She's about all the time. I'm gonna go a different way today. So, but I think that's a resilience as well, because in my head now, my personality is like, it's, as you quite rightly said, it's nothing to do with me. I'm going to do what is good with me, and hopefully they'll say hi back. And if they don't, water off a duck's back for me.
Yeah,
exactly. I think you're right. That analogy you could use right through into really big day-to-day stuff. Little tiny things like somebody saying hello, or something like, you know, why is that person behaving poorly at work or within a team situation, whatever it is. But it builds, I don't know if the resilience is the right word, but I feel, is it happy in your own skin maybe? I feel happier in myself. And then that way I'm not worried about if somebody else thinks that's my fault, or if something else is, because I know that I'm coming from a positive place.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's all you can do in life is, and we'll all make mistakes along the way.
Oh yeah.
We won't all, you know, sometimes I've been in a situation recently where I know I maybe wasn't coming from the right place. But I'm okay with that, because actually, do you know, none of us are perfect. You know, we all make mistakes. We all have buttons that are pressed at times.
Yeah, absolutely.
You walk away and kind of think, right, okay, I didn't do that very well, so how would I do it next time that would be better? Or do you know what, I didn't do it well, that's okay, fair enough, do you know, like, just walk away, just leave it alone.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think this is it, isn't it? I think there's something, like, I was in a situation recently with a business scenario where it all kind of kicked off. A business that our business deals with had not behaved that well, and suddenly everybody other businesses that dealt with them on this chat started attacking them. Now, the guy who has the business had apologized and had made it up, and for me, I thought, well, do you know what, I make mistakes as a human being.
Yeah,
the business will make mistakes, and actually I love it when people give us the opportunity to rectify them and fix it, and we learn from it, the business learns from it, and because of that we become better, we improve. And it became a very strange situation where there was almost like low-level bullying, to the point where they were just slagging this company, which, by the way, they're all still working with, off. And I felt really, really uncomfortable about it, and I ended up saying something. I don't usually get involved because it's not my natural. I'm not confrontational. If I say something if I really have to, and do you know what, I felt so much better once I'd got it out there. And the amount of people that then came back and agreed and said, you're absolutely right, this isn't necessary, and blah 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 blah. It was all a bit boring, to be honest, but having been in that situation, I think we're all going to make mistakes. There's something that's so lovely about, just as you say, forgiving yourself.
Yeah.
Forgive other people. Nobody's perfect.
Yeah.
And I feel like in lockdown, I think the other thing is people can be quite judgy with how other people are doing their day-to-day lives. So I think it's trying to get out that headspace of maybe you wouldn't have done that, or maybe you wouldn't have seen somebody in the park, but maybe they're okay with that, and maybe it's difficult, isn't it?
Well, it's that old saying of, you know, you don't judge people until you've walked in their shoes. And it's and how can you ever walk in someone else's shoes, because you haven't had the same upbringing. And even, you know, like, even you get kids that are from the same parents and they're totally different. You just don't know. All you can ever do is just try to attempt to kind of see. There's actually, when you're coaching, there's an absolutely beautiful exercise. It's amazing. It's so fantastic. And when you do try to, like, give somebody some conflict. In fact, I actually used it with a friend of mine on holiday.
Right.
He was in conflict with someone, and we did this exercise. And you actually sit as the other person that you're in conflict with, and you have a conversation. It sounds a bit freaky, but
it sounds brilliant. I love stuff like that.
It's amazing. And so that's when that exercise is phenomenal. I love using that with people, and it just again gives you another perspective. And just try to walk in someone else's shoes for a wee bit, and it's so interesting, so useful. And I think if we were all able to do that a wee bit more just in life, there would be so much more forgiveness and just not holding on to anger, you know.
No,
and here's the thing: anger. Who's pained? It's you.
Yeah, I know.
The other person's walked off. They're like, bye.
Yeah.
You're the one that's holding your hand.
You're the one that's standing in a total rage about something. The other person's like, off now, on to the next thing.
Totally affect your whole life, not theirs. It's crazy, but
yeah, I love the human brain. I find it completely fascinating. I love reading about psychology. I love going to coaches like yourself. I know I don't see you, but it's that same type of thing. I love finding out what is important to me. What can I do to improve X, Y, and Z? Or even as you just said about how that relationship with like somebody else or a team, there's so much benefit to it, isn't there, really?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You can't, when people come along to coaching, they kind of think they're coming to do whatever. And then by the time they're in their sessions, it's such a privilege to have been part of that process, because you can just see absolutely over the moon about what they've achieved, which is, it's just lovely. I suppose I would turn it around and say, what do you think you've achieved with coaching? Particularly with life coaching, as opposed to business.
Life coaching, I've now been seeing a life coach for probably about 6 years, and I totally refocused from literally working 6 or 7 days a week to not having really any hobbies or any real really weekly or monthly positive interactions with other people. I've got this is what I've learned. I've got a very addictive personality. So once I started working, I am like tunnel vision. I'm working. This is what I'm doing. And actually now, having been at the coaching, I've recognized that, which I would never have really followed that thought process through and realized how that works in every aspect of my life.
Yeah.
Because I didn't.
And did your coach help you to? Because I think because I could probably have recognized that I was quite introvert, but not have realized more about it. So was it your coach able to help you identify your addictive behavior, but also how it impacts on your life?
Yes, and also how do I get a better balance, and practical things that I could do, so that I could actually, rather than just talk about it, it was like, right, how are we going to follow that through in real life so that you don't just get sucked into going back to work? So go and buy rugby tickets and meet your friends and make things in the diary. And how are you going to do this? How are you going to make this happen so that we don't just sit and talk about this every couple of weeks? And then, and that is the thing, isn't it? You can, if you don't have the practical stuff in place, you can sit and talk about it and go, yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah.
And then go back to life.
Yeah.
And I think you're right though. You doing all those little exercises, I've done quite similar exercises to that. And they were real eye openers. And once my brain had processed, oh, actually, that's how I feel about it, or that's what I'm doing, I could instantly, once I recognized the behavior, I could change it. And for the better, not because I'm thinking, oh, I should change that. Actually, because I go, oh, I didn't know I was doing that. Right. Okay. I'm not living like this.
Yeah.
So, and I think the key thing is, I've changed life coaches in the last 6 years. I'm on my second coach. And the first coach, who was absolutely amazing, we had both said we've kind of come to the end of our road together. Mm-hmm. And I moved on. About 6 months later, I found another coach. And actually, I think for me, the key thing is, I wouldn't want to be without my coach now. It might not always be this one, and everyone's lovely. It's not about being lovely or not being about lovely. It's once we feel we've achieved everything we can. Now, in my personal life, I feel like, one, I even went out with a few guys, which before I would never have even gone out on a date, because I would have been like, I'm working, this is it. Yeah. I've got more friends now. It's not quantity, but I'm spending more time with them and I'm having better time. And I feel like I know my friends more, whereas before I felt like I just dipped into their lives when I wasn't working, which sounds horrible now that I say that out loud. And with
that was
what, sorry?
Well, that was all you were capable of at that point.
I couldn't have brought anything else to the table, because I literally was so blinkered to this work that everything else was completely sidelined. And actually, now I don't feel like I do that. Even before lockdown, and I was still working loads of hours, I made time for my friends. I spoke. I left them voices. I worked a way around so that I could do the work that I needed to do, but I could also kind of be part of their lives and have better quality time with them, I suppose.
Yeah.
But the business has been the biggest change in terms of, the reason I went to a life coach was because I wanted to expand my business. And the irony was, when I went to see her, she was like, oh, I think we've got a few other issues that we'll kind of work on in the way. Whilst all I wanted to do was talk about work. Well, she didn't. She wanted to talk about Shirley.
Yeah.
And that was lovely, because I had never, can I use the word, it felt a bit indulgent, because I'd never really sat and just talked about myself. Now I can do it all day long. Let's talk about Shirley.
But it sounds as if she noticed that there was a huge imbalance there.
Well, I think probably everybody saw that except me. I was going work. And my parents were going off to see a life coach. Now that's kind of quite big when your mum and dad go, maybe you should go and see a counsellor or a life coach. But yes, you're totally right. She instantly started working on things that I felt were unnecessary for life. And I'm going, I'm not here to talk about that. And she's like, you are your business. You need to look after you, and you need to get you right. And then when you're happy, the business is happy. And the minute she said that.
And was she right?
Absolutely. Yeah, she was. The second. And at the time I was in, when I first saw her, I was in a salon on my own. I was in the first salon. So it was only me. So she was completely right. If I wasn't happy, the clients weren't happy, the business wasn't happy. And you know, the second she said that, it was like, oh, that makes sense. And suddenly I started doing self-care. I know we talk a lot about self-care now, but 7 years ago, nobody used the word self-care. Now, she was going, right, you're having a day off, 1 day off a week. And I was going, oh, a whole day. I don't know how I'm going to do that. And then before you knew it, she just managed to seep wee things into my life without it feeling too scary and too, oh, I didn't really want to do this. It was good.
That's the one thing that I'm kind of getting from, because because I guess the question that was burning for me was when you went to see the life coach and she you went in sort of saying it's all about my business, and she kind of went, it's all about you. And was there ever a point where you kind of thought, I don't know how to put this, but where you ever kind of walked away and thought, she's not, like she's not working
that I'm working on. Yeah, I think there was one day when I was a bit like, but she always incorporated a plan, and we sat and did timelines and plans of how the business would go, and we looked at all the different avenues. So she always did work on the business, but she said to me, we're only working on the business if we also work on how we keep you healthy, happy. I mean, I'll be completely honest, before I went to see her, I was probably about to burn out. Properly burn out. I mean, I had moved back to my parents, even though I had a perfectly beautiful flat, and I wasn't coping at all. And my parents had an intervention after about a month of me living with them, going, okay, this is not how life's going to live. You are, this is crazy. And actually, I kind of had always thought would like to see a life coach, but kind of maybe thought it was a wee bit indulgent, or thought maybe this is not really that necessary. And then when my parents said, enough's enough, we love you, but we are genuinely really, really worried that you are going to burn out and we can't fix you once that happens. And one of my mum's very good friends, her husband had a business years ago and had been working stupid hours and had been in a serious car accident on his way home from work. And she said, you're not turning, I'm not, he's never been the same since, and he's never worked since. And she said, I'm not having this happen to you. I'm worried every time you get in the car. I'm worried every time you go out. She said, I am just constantly worried. And I suppose that then hammered home to me that actually my parents, who are 70, are at home worrying about me, and I'm not. I'm totally, I'm like, I'm not pottering about, I'm flying about 100 miles an hour thinking I'm totally fine.
Fine, yeah.
They're looking at it, as you've quite rightly said, from another angle and going, that is literally a car crash waiting to happen.
Yeah.
And I'm really, really glad my parents just said, we're not helping you anymore unless you go and help yourself. And we can't help you. So, I was just hoping they would do the usual parent thing and do the washing, do my shopping, and sort of almost prop up part of my life, which might have been quite easy for them to do, would be for them to come in and prop up this side of my life so that I could literally just work even more. And they were like, nah, not doing it. Yeah. So I think that was a massive bonus. I almost feel like a bit cruel to be kind, maybe.
But it also to a certain extent allowed you to not see life coaching as indulgent, which it really isn't.
It's not. Well, that's the thing. I keep using that word, but it's the least indulgent thing. That I actually feel like my life I wouldn't be so happy and healthy, and I feel a lot more balanced if I hadn't gone.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think
Yeah.
the journey would have been as smooth.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I mean, you wonder where you would be if you hadn't taken that. But I think, I mean, people do see it as indulgent.
They do, and that's something that needs to get squashed on the head. And
yeah.
I even felt it was indulgent, and at the time, and then when I did it, I remember the first session I went to, Angela, and I literally walked out the door and I could have burst into tears of joy. I just felt like somebody had lifted all this weight off my shoulders. I can't even explain to you how good it felt. And I went home and my mum was sort of sitting going, how did it go? How did it go? And I said, I'm going back next week. I already feel like it's going to be okay. I could cry thinking about it because I can remember the emotion of me going, oh, it's going to be okay. This is going to get better. And and I felt positive. What did you say? Sorry?
Why did you feel like that? What happened in that? I don't mean like
what
the
happened,
specifics. What if you had to sort of say there were 5 points or what? I don't know, what was it? Was it the sharing?
I think it was knowing that I could go in, and I just went blah to this poor girl, and she then sat and said, right, well, this is how do we want, what are we going to work on? How are we going to get about this? And we sat and wrote a plan of action, and we sat and wrote timelines of like, well, how would we like to expand the business? How would you like to do this? And also, how would it mean that you could have a business that's not just you, which means then you could have some time? And that, everything about it just felt like this girl wants me to she wants to help me fix this.
Yeah.
My friends and family obviously wanted to help me fix this. However, 1, I didn't really talk about it. 2, I probably wouldn't have taken the advice from family or friends because they're too close. And I think I literally came away from it just thinking, I have somebody who literally is she's got a toolbox, as you say. She knows how to do this. She's detached from my life. So it's not an opinion. I had a lot of people telling me their opinions on how I should live my life. That really wasn't helpful to me. I needed somebody who was going to equip me and say, how are we going to do this in a practical sense so that you're happy, the business is happy, and in 10 years' time, you don't wake up and go, oh my God, I'm no further forward. I just felt like the weight of the world had been lifted off my shoulders, and I now had this one person who really just, the second I walked through the door, she was like, Shirley, right, how are you today and what's happening with you? I used to ask her how she was. I still do this to my coach at the moment. How are you? She went, stop even going there. And I'm going, no, but seriously, how are you? She went, I know this game. You're trying to deflect off your own stuff, not answering that. And I still think it's funny because I love people. So I want to go, oh, how are you? What's happening with you? And they're like, whatever. Let's get back to you.
That's not the time. It's your time to be able.
And you know what? I think there's something so lovely about having an hour and a half or 2 hours, literally where that person is just like, right, what are you doing? And you do refocus, because you do just kind of start going, plodding along, and then boom, right, hold on. We need to actually not plod along, and we need to go, why are we doing this? What's the reason? And someone to come in and sort of ask you the good questions. So
it sounded to me as if when you were talking about when you first went in to see this woman for your first session, you could actually, before you went in, it was all a bit of a kind of, it was all, you know, and she kind of went, right, okay, let's take all this, let's tidy it all up, and look, there's a tunnel, and I'm going to support you through all this, and that was, and
Angela, that's a beautiful way of putting it. I would never have ever verbalized it like that. my life was shambolic, and nobody else on the outset would have realised that unless you were my parents, because my parents saw a whole element of my life that was just horrific, like not horrific, just shambolic. My whole life was shambolic. But I was very good at going, chatting away and seeing clients, but really I was just working. And it was lovely that people wanted to come and see me, and the business was doing so well, and I never anticipated it, but I also never anticipated what happens when you get too busy and you can't cope. It never ever occurred to me, because that's a business's dream, isn't it? Let's have like the busiest place in the world. It's so busy, it's too busy. And why am I working Monday to Saturday, and why am I working 8 a.m. till 10 p.m. and going home and sleeping and getting up at 6 and going back out? You know, it became unmanageable, and my parents were the only ones that could see that when I finally just appeared on their doorstep and said, so I now live with you, okay? And they're going, you're 32 years old, why are you at home when you have a successful business and a beautiful flat? So, you know, it was a necessity, and actually I'm really, really glad it happened, because now the coaching has taken me and the business so much further than I ever could have imagined. And now we've got even bigger plans. Because now then
stop seeing these bloody coaches.
I know. I feel like I'm at home going, so what other thing can we come up with?
Got way too much time to think.
But you see, the joy of lockdown, Angela, is I have so much more time to think.
I know.
Thinking time is underrated.
Well, I think I'm saying it's at your worst enemy. It's probably ours who work with you is worst enemy. Oh no, what's she going to introduce into work now?
I've got so many fun things I'm working on, Angela. I didn't even want to spoil the fun. It'll all be good.
No, don't. Just keep them as surprises. Don't need to know right now.
I love it. But look, Angela, it's always a pleasure chatting, and I can't wait till the salon reopens. We're getting very excited. If anybody is wanting to contact you for coaching or wants to ask you some questions about it, is there a good way? Can we put a link on this podcast or your email address, or can we put a Facebook thing so that people can touch base with you? Would this be okay?
Yep. Contact number and an email address. That's fine.
Great. That's what we'll do. So, yeah, exactly. So anyone that's listening to this, when you click on to the Shirley Says Facebook, we will put on contact details for the lovely Angela, so that you can contact her directly and ask some questions and find out more. I would highly, highly recommend life coaching. And I think we're all at a bit of a crossroads coming out of lockdown as well. I think this is a great time to sort of go, ooh, do I love the job? Is the job still there? What's happening? Or if you're like normal people and you're not thinking about work, what am I doing, and how's this changed my life, and what's the next plan? It's so exciting. So definitely, yeah. Thank you so much, Angela. It was lovely to speak to you. Thank you, everybody, for listening to another episode of Shirley Says. Please go on to iTunes and leave me a lovely little review. Please be kind. And hopefully I will see you lovely people soon. Okay, take care. Bye.